it is done. All the parts here are cleaned and almost ready to be base coated. What I have to do now is drill the bolters. I always do this. I just think it looks more realistic if it's drilled. So that's what I will do. Then for the sarge, I will magnetize the power sword and the chain sword. I want to have these two options. The other arm of the sarge from the Black Reach box is fixed already, so I cannot magnetize a power fist, but that's fine. At least power sword or chain sword. The drilling is actually quite easy. First, before I use the drill, I mark with a pointy item like this. I have no idea how this is called in English, but I mark the point of entry, which I will be drilling more or less in the middle of the weapon. Not always works. Sometimes it's not really centered, but that's fine. And yeah, I do this for all the weapons, and then I drill. So let's talk some more about your army list and drill. You have to tell me how to pronounce this, man. 5-man assault. Well, yeah, we talked about the assault squad. So you have one dreadnought assembled but painted. So paint it. But if it's the dreadnought from the Black Reach, it will have a close combat weapon, and it will have a multi-melter. That's a good dreadnought. It's a cheap one. It costs, if I'm not mistaken, it costs 105 points. That's good, but it's a dreadnought for, well, close quarters. The multi-melter, 24 inches, not really far. So what I always do with this dreadnought, at least with most of my dreadnoughts, give them drop pods. You cannot deep strike a dreadnought without a drop pod, so get one. If you have one drop pod in your army list, it deep strikes at the beginning of your first turn. It's always good to have an odd number of drop pods. Let's say if you have 3, then 2 of them, half rounded up, are coming down in your first turn. And 2 drop pods with 2 dreadnoughts with multi-melter or also a normal melter coming down in your first turn, that's something your opponent has to think about. Especially if you have tanks. That's what I normally do. If I know that my opponent is going to field tanks, I have my multi-melter dreadnought waiting in his drop pod. If you can give him another melter, even better. Then you deep strike. Deep striking with drop pots is fairly safe if you don't go too close to the table edge. You deep strike next to his tank. You pray that you don't scatter too far out of melter range, and then get out and blow up his tank. Most of the time your dreadnought will not survive the second turn. But if you can kill a key threat to your forces, like maybe a Lehman Russ or even a Land Raider, then that's a good thing. And it's something which keeps the attention of your opponent off your other troops, which can advance while he has to be concerned with the dreadnought right in front of his nose. That's my experience. So get a drop pot and paint it. Then you have a Land Raider Crusader. That's awesome. That's one of the best Land Raiders. I think for me it's the best at the moment, because I just finished my Redeemer with the Flamestorm cannons and I did not have the chance yet to field it. I'm sure it's also cool, but well, I don't like the one with the twin link glass cannons a lot. Somehow my Land Raiders always charge forward because they have Terminators on board which need to get into close combat. And I mean, the Crusader with a multi-melter, the bolter, the Hurricane bolter systems, the assault cannon, almost everything is twin linked. That's just a lot of firepower. And with the Machine Spirit you can charge, you can move the Land Raider 12 inches and still shoot with the multi-melter, with the assault cannon. That's awesome. That's really, I like it a lot. So assemble it and paint it. I can't understand the blue primer. Oh, the blue primer. Well, I can recommend the one from Army Painter. Just a second. Oops, that's this one. It's Ultramarines Blue Army Painter primer. I did my Thunderhawk with that, and also the Land Raider Redeemer. So that's a good way to do the base coat. But my first two Land Raiders, my first Land Raider, I just base coated. Well, first I did Chaos Black, of course, with the spray, and then I just base coated it with the brush Mordian Blue. Oh, that's okay. And the Redeemer I airbrushed. I don't use the airbrush from GW, don't like it too much, but that's also a matter of taste. I bought another one. It was a bit more expensive, but works quite well. And yeah, I just use thinned Mordian Blue, and I airbrush all the large models. And it works really well. So don't worry too much about the primer. We already talked about the rhinos. close combat termies. Of course, close combat termies, awesome. They are, especially the ones, of course, with the Storm Shield and the Thunderhammer, they are a killer on the field. But always, always please put them into a Land Raider. Otherwise, it's a waste of points. At least that is my opinion. I mean, I say this a lot about my opinion. Generally, everything I say here is my opinion. Even maybe if it doesn't sound like that sometimes, it can be nothing else, okay? So if you have other ideas, other strategies, don't be offended by what I say, okay? It's just what I think. Yeah, and what I would do with your Terminators, with your Assault Terminators, I would definitely magnetize the arms. It's a bit more work, but then you're flexible, you have options. You can field 5 Power Claw Termies, you can field 2 Power Claw Termies, 5 Hammer Termies. Okay, you can really have a lot of options. Because usually I play like 3 claws and 2 hammers. I have the hammers for the plasma wounds or the melta wounds and stuff like that. But if I know that I go against hordes, like orcs, tyranids, and not like tanks or lots of monstrous creatures, I love the Power Claws. Because it's a lot of attacks, and you can re-roll the wounds or the hits. I'm always confused. With the Chaplain you can re-roll the wounds, no, the hits, and with the Power Claws the wounds. Anyway, if you have a Chaplain with your Termis, with your Power Claw Termis, then you can reroll both. And that's just, then you kill a lot of stuff in close combat. So yes, go for the close combat Assault Termis and magnetize the arms. Okay, so I'm just think I'm done with the bolters. So where is the drill? Here. I think this is the standard GW drill. Works really well. Like it a lot. All weapons need to be drilled.